Did you know that bookworms live 2 years longer than the average person? And that a day on Venus is longer than 8 months on Earth? This, and so much more on today's episode of 101 Facts, will leave you questioning your existence. Try not to get confused so you don't forget to subscribe. Your support means a lot. Let's start. Located at the base of Mount Fuji, the Aokigahara Forest, also known as the Suicide Forest, is infamous for the high number of people who have taken their lives there. It's also rumored to be haunted, with many locals and visitors claiming to hear eerie whispers or see strange apparitions. Its dense trees block out most of the sunlight, creating a perpetual twilight-like atmosphere, which adds to the sense of isolation and fear. Some believe that the spirits of those who died there still haunt the forest, contributing to its unsettling reputation. Lightning strikes can also travel upward. Yes, upward lightning is a real and shocking phenomenon. It occurs when tall structures like skyscrapers or communication towers emit a stream of charged particles upward to meet a storm cloud's electric charge. This type of lightning can stretch miles into the sky, creating spectacular visuals. It is an extremely rare and dangerous phenomenon. Upward lightning can be even more destructive than the downward kind because it often damages electrical equipment and poses a risk to nearby buildings. This is also dangerous for humans and animals, as a direct hit from lighting can be fatal. Can you think of residing in a building whose bricks are supported by nothing but thin air between them? Well, the Incas built and resided in such a structure. Machu Picchu is an Incan citadel set high in the Andes Mountains in Peru, above the Urubamba River Valley. Built in the 15th century and later abandoned, it's renowned for its dry stone walls that fuse huge blocks without the use of mortar. These stones were cut so precisely and wedged so closely together that a credit card cannot be inserted between them. When an earthquake occurs, the stones in an Inca building are said to dance. That is, they bounce through the tremors and then fall back into place. Emeralds are praised and valued for their flaws. Emeralds are softer than diamonds, making them prone to scratches and requiring careful handling. Unlike diamonds, where clarity is critical, emeralds are more prized with natural inclusions, often called their garden. These inclusions, or as we call them, gardens, are so unique that they can help identify the gem's origin. The largest emeralds are found in Colombia, Brazil, and Zambia, whereas synthetic emeralds offer a cost-effective and eco-friendly alternative without compromising their appearance. More than 100 miles below the Earth's surface, reaching the mantle, carbon is crystallized under extreme pressure and temperature to form diamonds. Despite being known as the hardest natural material, diamonds can shatter with a hard strike in the right direction due to their crystalline structure. When present around volcanoes, eruptions bring them closer to the surface of the Earth through kimberlite pipes, from where they are extracted. Nowadays, synthetic diamonds are nearly indistinguishable from natural ones and are growing in popularity for industrial and jewelry purposes. Century eggs are duck, chicken, or quail eggs preserved in a mixture of clay, ash, salt, quicklime, and rice hulls for weeks or months, not centuries. This process transforms the egg into a jelly-like texture with a dark green yolk, creating a bold umami flavor. Although visually displeasing, they are considered a delicacy in Chinese cuisine. The alkaline preservation neutralizes bacteria, making the eggs safe to eat while providing a unique flavor profile enjoyed in congee, salads, or on their own. Fugu, or pufferfish, is a highly dangerous delicacy in Japan, as it contains lethal tetrodotoxin in its organs. This toxin can take a toll on the consciousness of its consumers, leaving them extremely dizzy and nauseous. Chefs must undergo rigorous training and licensing to prepare it safely, ensuring the removal of toxic parts. Despite the risks, fugu is a sought-after dish, often served raw as sashimi or in hot pots. The thrill of eating fugu comes from its sport between life and death. However, fatalities are now rare due to strict regulations. Japan celebrates fugu as a winter delicacy, with Yamaguchi Prefecture being its leading producer. Sailors' expertise in knot tying has had a lasting impact far beyond the seas. The development of knots like the bowline, clove hitch, and figure-8 knot, essential for rigging sails, has influenced modern engineering, climbing, and rescue operations. Almost all are developed by men at the sea. This is because in the middle of merciless waters, sailors had to ensure their knots were strong yet easy to untie, even under pressure. Today, these techniques are studied in materials science to improve load-bearing systems and are used in everyday tasks, from securing loads to medical suturing. During the Vietnam War, Jeremiah Denton Jr. blinked out the word torture in Morse code during a live 19 television interview with his captors. Morse code, a system of dots and dashes used for communication, owes much of its development to naval sailors. During the 19th century, sailors required a reliable way to send messages over long distances, particularly in emergencies or combat situations. Samuel Morse invented the code in 1838, but sailors refined its application, integrating it into ship-to-ship and ship-to-shore communication. Morse code remained a maritime standard until the late 20th century and is still used in some naval traditions today. The International Distress Code, SOS, is a sequence of 3 dots followed by 3 dashes. The letters S and O are represented by 3 dots and 3 dashes, respectively, making SOS a simple way to remember the code. The earliest form of a gun didn't have a handle. Back in 9th century China, the earliest form of a gun was used called a fire lance. These fire lances were not purpose-built weapons, but an extension of spears used to scar the enemies with fire and explosion. The fire lances were extremely simple in design. They were made using bamboo and gunpowder. Both of these essential materials were found in China. A fire lance was made using a bamboo tube, which utilized some amount of gunpowder to propel projectiles. This simple idea took the shape of the gun in the 13th century when Europe was introduced to gunpowder. The Gatling gun was invented with the intention of saving lives. Yes, you heard right, to save lives. Dr. Richard Gatling, the inventor of the Gatling gun, believed that his invention could make nations reconsider their decision to go to war. The Gatling gun was the first rapid-fire gun, capable of firing hundreds of rounds per minute. This invention can be considered the atomic bomb of its time. A single man in the battleground became capable of destruction which 100 men would otherwise cause. But this invention inspired the modern machine guns, which are more lethal than their predecessors. The idiot fruit is a living fossil that dates back to the times of the dinosaurs. It is a tree found only in the Daintree rainforest in Queensland, Australia, which dates back 120 million years. It's a tree that has survived numerous mass extinctions and is still standing in its place. The fruits of this tree are highly toxic. They can potentially kill a person if consumed. The discovery of this plant was a shocking discovery for the scientific world. All scientists considered this family of plants extinct, but in the 70s they discovered it, and it opened a window to look into the ancient and vanished ecosystems of the past. Eucalyptus trees explode during wildfires. They don't just catch fire, they explode. Eucalyptus trees contain a highly flammable oil. During bushfires, intense heat causes this oil to vaporize and expand, oftentimes causing huge bursts. These exploding trees help the fire to spread more rapidly. Even the structure of the eucalyptus trees helps the wildfire to spread and cause damage in vast regions. The spilled bark of eucalyptus trees can catch fire and travel to a distant place, with wind causing more fire. These trees are most commonly found in Australian forests, making Australia a region among the top regions receptive to wildfires. One of the oldest flags in Europe belongs to Spain. The national flag of Spain, with its iconic red and yellow stripes, was officially adopted in 1785. The flag's colors were chosen to ensure visibility at sea, reflecting Spain's naval dominance during the Age of Exploration. The coat of arms is located on the hoist side of the flag. The shield in the center of the coat of arms contains 6 coats of arms, each representing a conquered territory. The coat of arms on the flag includes symbols representing the historically conquered kingdoms of Spain, such as Castile, Leon, and Aragon, showcasing its rich and diverse history. The stone oven of restaurant Sobrino de Botín has not seen a cold day since the 18th century. Located in Madrid, it has been serving customers since 1725, earning it a spot in the Guinness World Records as the world's oldest restaurant. It was founded by Jean Botin, a French cook, and his Austrian wife. The restaurant's antique oven is still in use and hasn't gone out in 297 years. The restaurant is famous for its traditional Castilian dishes like roasted suckling pig and lamb, cooked in a wood-fired oven. In his novel, The Sun Also Rises, Ernest Hemingway even mentioned the restaurant, adding to its global fame. Olive oil could have effects similar to ibuprofen in the human body. Olive oil, especially extra virgin, contains an oleocanthal compound, which has anti-inflammatory effects similar to ibuprofen. Studies suggest that regular consumption of olive oil can reduce the risk of chronic diseases like heart disease, arthritis, and Alzheimer's. It can also reduce oxidative damage from free radicals, which may be a driver of cancer. The oil is also a key component of the Mediterranean diet, which has been linked to increased longevity and better overall health. Its benefits go beyond food, as it's also used in skincare for its moisturizing properties. The time of harvest and the method used to extract the olive oil can affect its taste and chemical composition in many ways. Early harvest olives produce oil with a robust peppery flavor and higher antioxidant content but yield less oil. Later harvest olives create a milder, fruitier flavor and provide a higher yield. The way the olives are harvested can also impact the oil's quality. For example, olives that are bruised during harvesting can oxidize and ferment, which can lead to high acidity levels and negatively affect the taste and quality of the oil. The method of pressing also impacts the flavor. Traditional stone mills or modern centrifuges are used to extract the oil, each affecting the final taste profile. The Amazon River discharges more water than the next 7 largest rivers combined, pouring around 209,000 cubic meters per second into the Atlantic Ocean. Stretching approximately 6,400 kilometers, it flows through 9 countries, including Brazil and Peru. The river's basin hosts over 10% of the world's known species, making it a vital ecological system. Despite its massive size, there are no bridges crossing the Amazon due to its remote location, and the dense rainforest river has many natural hazards that would make it difficult to build bridges. In the cities and towns along the river, boats and ferries are the primary way to move people and goods. Some rivers simply disappear while flowing. Rivers like the Guadiana in Spain and the Fiume-Timavo in Italy vanish underground for parts of their course. The Timavo River in far northeastern Italy flows underground for at least 40 kilometers of its journey to the sea. This phenomenon occurs when rivers encounter porous limestone formations, known as karst landscapes, which allow water to flow beneath the surface and form breathtaking underground sceneries with streams and caves. These subterranean rivers often re-emerge miles away, sometimes in unexpected locations, and follow their natural course through the land. One of the most shocking aspects of international law is that, unlike domestic law, there is no central governing body with the power to enforce decisions. This means that there is no guarantee for the proper upholding of its rulings. International law relies heavily on the cooperation of sovereign states, with organizations like the United Nations, the International Court of Justice, and various treaties playing critical roles. However, these bodies lack the power to directly enforce rulings or compel states to comply. As a result, states often violate international law without immediate consequences, relying on diplomatic pressure or sanctions for enforcement. Piracy is one of the few crimes under international law that is subject to universal jurisdiction, meaning any country can capture and prosecute pirates, regardless of where the crime occurred. This principle allows nations to cooperate in combating piracy on the high seas, such as off the coast of Somalia, where piracy is a huge problem faced by the officials. However, it has led to challenges in enforcing prosecutions, as different nations have varying legal systems and the capacity to handle pirate trials. Thus, they also find safe havens in places with limited to no lawsuits against piracy. Despite international treaties, piracy remains a significant issue, with pirate groups operating in many regions. Erasers could be made out of flour in the past. Before rubber erasers became common, people used breadcrumbs to remove pencil marks. Even before the pencil was invented, writers and artists who used graphite discovered they could erase mistakes by rubbing a moistened and rolled bit of bread against the page. The rubber eraser wasn't invented until 1770, when English engineer Edward Nairn accidentally discovered that rubber could erase pencil marks. Interestingly, the eraser was paired with pencils only a century later, but it was considered controversial initially. Today, erasers come in various materials, including vinyl and plastic, to improve precision and durability. Where in World War II nothing seemed to stop the ongoing atrocities, Norwegians came up with an idea of their own. The humble paperclip became a symbol of resistance during World War II, particularly in Norway, where people wore them to show defiance against Nazi occupation. The clips were meant to denote solidarity and unity. It represents the slogan, "We are bound together," because in Norwegian, paperclips are called binders. Patented in 1899 by Johan Valler, a Norwegian inventor, the modern paperclip is an example of minimalist design perfection. Despite its simplicity, it has inspired innovation in other industries, including medical clamps and engineering components due to its strong and flexible structure. Do you know any unique stories from the war? Comment down below. Rulers have been around for more time than most countries. Rulers have been in use for over 4,000 years, with the oldest known example found in the Indus Valley Civilization, made from ivory. This ivory scale surprised the archaeologist with its precision, with divisions as small as 1.6 millimeters. Typically, their length was based on a rough idea of the length of any human organ, like the span of a hand or a stride. They had many roles in the day-to-day lives of the local people. Modern rulers are typically made from wood, plastic, or metal and are essential tools in education, construction, and art. The Arctic frozen landscape is a ticking time bomb for our climate. The Arctic's permafrost holds an estimated 1,500 billion tons of carbon, twice the amount currently in the atmosphere. Permafrost is ground that remains frozen for at least 2 years and is made up of soil, sand, gravel, organic matter, and ice. The permafrost of the Arctic was created during the Ice Age and has been frozen since. Thus, it has been accumulating gases for ages. As temperatures rise, this frozen soil is thawing, releasing methane, a greenhouse gas 25 times more potent than carbon dioxide. This creates a dangerous feedback loop where warming accelerates the release of gases, which then further intensify global warming. Scientists warn that once significant thawing begins, it could trigger an irreversible tipping point in the Earth's climate. Warmer oceans caused by climate change are intensifying hurricanes, increasing their wind speeds, rainfall, and destructive power. As evaporation increases with the increase in temperature, so does the heat transfer from oceans to air. As winds flow across the oceans, they pull in more water vapors and heat, resulting in stronger winds, more rainfall, and severe flooding. In the last 50 years, the number of Category 4 and 5 hurricanes has nearly doubled. Rising sea levels intensify storm surges, flooding low-lying areas. Scientists predict hurricanes will continue to worsen, dumping even more rain and causing longer-lasting damage in affected regions. A day on Venus is longer than the planet's year. Venus rotates on its axis so slowly that a single day on the planet lasts 243 Earth days. In contrast, Venus orbits the Sun in just 225 Earth days. To make things more strange, it rotates in the opposite direction of most planets, meaning the Sun rises in the west and sets in the east. The planet's thick atmosphere traps heat so effectively that surface temperatures average 900 degrees Fahrenheit, hotter than Mercury, which is closer to the Sun than Venus, making any intent to visit the planet next to impossible. High heels are first reported to be worn by men in Persia. The main purpose of these high heels was to secure their feet through the stirrups. The elevated heels also provided a better grip, allowing soldiers to shoot arrows more effectively on the battlefield. 16th century European aristocrats adopted high heels as a status symbol. Even King Louis XIV of France made them fashionable, often wearing red-soled heels. It was not until the 18th century that high heels became predominantly associated with women, showcasing the shift in dynamics and cultures associated with fashion. Imagine a thriving city turned to ashes in a matter of moments. That's what happened to the Roman city of Pompeii in 79 CE when Mount Vesuvius erupted, covering it in volcanic ash. The ash preserved buildings, mosaics, and even the shapes of people as they were in their final moments. Rediscovered in the 18th century, Pompeii offers a detailed snapshot of Roman life, from public baths to graffiti on walls. The city's sudden burial also protected it from looting over the centuries, providing us a detailed view of the final moments of a whole population. Better lighting can provide us with good eggs. This is because chickens naturally lay more eggs during longer daylight hours, as light exposure influences melatonin and reproductive hormone levels. To mimic this, farmers provide artificial light for 14 to 16 hours daily in laying barns, especially during winter when daylight is limited. Any disruption in lighting can disrupt egg-laying cycles, causing stress and reduced productivity. Proper lighting improves not only egg quantity but also quality, as stress-free birds are healthier and more efficient producers, benefiting both farmers and consumers. LED lights are extensively used to mimic longer summer days in laying barns. The caffeine responsible for waking us up every morning is not a delicacy to all. Plants, like coffee or tea plants, use metabolic pathways to produce caffeine, which acts as a natural pesticide against insects and inhibits the growth of competing plants. Interestingly, caffeine can also enhance pollinator activity, as it improves their memory of the plant's nectar, encouraging repeated visits. This chemical warfare improves the chances of survival of already existing plants and makes sure that the next generation also thrives. Enjoying the video? Support me by donating a caffeine-filled coffee. Link is in the description. The Harry Potter series would not have existed if not for the curiosity of an 8-year-old. J.K. Rowling faced 12 rejections from publishers before Bloomsbury finally agreed to publish Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone in 1997. Even then, they printed only 500 copies in the first run, many of which went to libraries. If not for Bloomsbury's chairman's 8-year-old daughter, who loved the manuscript, the magical world of Harry Potter might never have been brought to life. Today, the first edition of the Harry Potter series could be sold for more than $10,000. Volcanic eruptions can be more violent than your imagination. Volcanic eruptions can produce lightning storms, a process known as dirty thunderstorms. When a volcano erupts, ash, rock, and gas are ejected with immense force, creating friction as particles collide. This generates static electricity, resulting in lightning bolts that crackle through the ash cloud. These electrifying displays are not only visually stunning, but also dangerous. For example, in 2010, a volcanic eruption in Iceland produced spectacular lightning, grounding flights across Europe. While the exact mechanism isn't fully understood, volcanic lightning highlights the raw and unpredictable power of eruptions. In 1815, the eruption of Mount Tambora in Indonesia triggered a famine. It is the most powerful volcanic eruption ever recorded. It ejected so much ash and sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere that it blocked sunlight for a whole year. This resulted in a significant drop in global temperatures. The following year, 1816, became known as the Year Without a Summer. Crops failed to grow worldwide, leading to famine and social unrest. This single incident is enough to prove the superiority of nature over humankind. The social behavior often associated with bees is not universal. Over 20,000 known bee species exist, but only a small fraction are social, like honeybees and bumblebees. The majority are solitary, meaning each female constructs her own nest without cooperation. Solitary bees, such as mason bees, often use small holes or crevices to lay their eggs. These bees typically provide a ball of pollen as food for their larvae before sealing the nest. Some species, like leafcutter bees, line their nests with carefully cut pieces of leaves, which helps protect the eggs. Solitary bees play a vital role in pollination, often specializing in specific plants. Have you ever felt happy seeing your food arrive? If yes, you are not alone. When a honeybee discovers a rich food source, it performs a waggle dance to convey detailed information to the hive. The duration of the waggle phase communicates the distance to the food, while the angle of the dance relative to gravity indicates the sun's direction. Bees also vibrate their wings to produce sounds, which can help other bees detect the dance in crowded hives. This behavior is so precise that bees can locate a food source kilometers away with remarkable accuracy, even in complex landscapes with multiple obstacles. Red's Giant Hamburg in Springfield, Missouri, holds a special place in fast food history as it is widely regarded as the first drive-thru restaurant in the United States. Opened by Sheldon "Red" Cheney in 1947, the restaurant initially operated as a gas station and cafe. Red's innovative idea of cutting a hole in the wall to allow customers to order and pick up food from their cars was revolutionary at the time. Red's Giant Hamburg closed in 1984, but remains an important landmark in fast food culture. Its legacy is celebrated in Springfield, and it set the stage for the drive-thru concept that became integral to the fast food industry. Next time you order something at a drive-thru from the convenience of your car, remember Red's Giant Hamburg. Kids are always skeptical about eating their veggies. In an effort to encourage kids to eat healthier, McDonald's developed bubblegum-flavored broccoli in 2014. The unusual flavor was intended to make vegetables more appealing to children, but the experiment failed because kids found the taste confusing. Many criticized this project as it was met with skepticism and questions about tricking kids into eating vegetables. This was part of a larger initiative to improve the nutritional offerings in their menu, which ultimately led McDonald's to focus on other changes, such as adding apple slices to Happy Meals and reducing calories in their food items. Think about crazy marketing stunts. I'll give you an amazing one. In 2001, Taco Bell created a publicity stunt by placing a massive target in the Pacific Ocean. It was a 40 by 40 raft placed in the middle of the Pacific Ocean with the company's logo as bullseye. They promised free tacos for every American if the target was hit by a piece of the Russian space station Mir during its re-entry into Earth's atmosphere. Although the target was missed, the event generated significant media attention and reinforced Taco Bell's reputation for quirky marketing strategies. Sazai-san, a slice-of-life anime that first aired in 1969, holds the Guinness World Record for the longest-running animated television series. It has been airing for more than 55 years and has broadcasted more than 7,000 episodes to date. Still, the author Machiko Hasegawa continues to come up with new episodes every week. This anime showcases the everyday life of the Sazai family. Unlike most anime, Sazai-san is entirely hand-drawn, elaborating the dedication of producers and maintaining a traditional animation style that has persisted for decades. Paper recycling isn't a modern concept. It dates back to at least 1031 CE in Japan. During this period, people collected used paper to create new sheets, partly due to the high cost and labor-intensive production of virgin paper. The process of waste paper recycling most often involves mixing old paper with water and chemicals to break it down. Today, recycled paper accounts for a significant portion of global paper production, with advanced techniques allowing the reuse of fibers up to 5 to 7 times before they degrade too much for papermaking. This practice also accounts for the conservation of trees that are cut for paper production. Malaria could be as old as civilization itself. Evidence suggests that malaria has been affecting humans for at least 4,000 years. Ancient Egyptians documented the symptoms of the disease, and malaria was likely responsible for the death of many figures in history due to lack or scarcity of necessary medications and inadequate facilities. If it isn't treated, malaria can cause severe health problems such as seizures, brain damage, trouble breathing, organ failure, and death. Despite advancements in the field of science and medicine, the malaria parasite, Plasmodium, has evolved alongside humans for centuries, making it a persistent global health challenge. The Dragon's Chair, designed by French artist Eric Schmidt, holds the record for one of the most expensive chairs ever sold. Crafted from wood, bronze, and gold with intricate dragon-shaped armrests, it fetched a price of $27 million at an auction. Inlaid with precious stones, this is more a work of art than a functional piece of furniture. Showing that provenance and craftsmanship will always be popular, the Dragon's Chair made spectators gasp at the price it garnered at a Christie's auction. This chair is considered an example of high-end luxury furniture, blending art and functionality in a unique, opulent design. Homes in Japan are not built to last long. Many homes in Japan, particularly in urban areas, are built using lightweight, temporary materials that can be easily replaced or renovated. This approach is partly due to Japan's susceptibility to natural disasters, like earthquakes, which makes it easier and safer to rebuild homes quickly when necessary. In addition to this, it is also an economically viable strategy. Traditional Japanese homes like minka were originally designed to be simple and adaptable, with wooden frames and tatami mats that can be reconstructed in a matter of days. The White House was not always white in history. When it was first completed in 1798, the White House's exterior was made of grayish sandstone. The building was first made white with lime-based whitewash in 1798 when its walls were finished, simply as a means of protecting the porous stone from freezing and protect the porous sandstone from weather damage. Later, it became an integral part of the presidential residence in America. The color of paint used on the exterior of the White House is known as Whisper White. It is produced by the Duran Company, which as of 2020 was owned by Sherwin-Williams. Sand is capable of singing. Some desert dunes produce low-pitched humming or booming sounds that resemble music or a distant rumble. This singing sand occurs when dry sand grains slide over each other, typically during wind or as a result of movement on the dunes. But certain conditions have to be met to create singing sand. Its grains have to be round and between 0.1 and 0.5 millimeters in diameter. It has to contain silica. It needs to be at a certain humidity. Examples include the Singing Dunes in China's Gobi Desert and the Namib Desert in Namibia. Occasionally, due to rare rainfall events, deserts could turn green. In certain deserts, like the Sonoran Desert in the US and Mexico, or the Namib Desert in Africa, rare rain events can trigger a phenomenon known as a desert bloom. Dormant seeds of wildflowers and other plants can sprout within days, transforming the barren landscape into a vibrant display of color. This phenomenon highlights the remarkable ability of desert plantations to go dormant for unprecedented stretches of time. This fleeting transformation can last only a few weeks, but it supports an entire ecosystem of insects and animals. Genes alone are not responsible for the appearance of specific traits in humans. Human skin color variations are largely due to the amount of melanin, controlled by genes like MC1R. Melanin acts as a natural protectant against harmful radiations of the sun. Populations closer to the equator have darker skin due to higher ultraviolet radiation exposure, which promotes melanin production as a protective measure against DNA damage. Conversely, populations in northern latitudes have evolved lighter skin to improve vitamin D synthesis in low sunlight conditions. This demonstrates the direct impact of the environment on genetic traits over thousands of years. Though present in close proximity to each other, the Chinese and dynasties of the subcontinent have never been connected until recently. Many factors contributed to this separation. The Himalayas acted as a massive natural wall between the Mughal Empire in India and the Chinese dynasties, keeping the two largely separate. They are some of the tallest and toughest mountains in the world, with peaks like Mount Everest. Climbing or crossing them was nearly impossible for large armies or traders because of the steep terrain, thin air, and freezing temperatures. Moreover, traders preferred using routes that went around the Himalayas, like the famous Silk Road through Central Asia or by sea, because they were much easier and safer. Sperm whales are particularly impressive divers, capable of reaching depths of up to 2,000 meters in search of their favorite prey, like giant squids. They can hold their breath for an astonishing 90 minutes during these dives. This feat is made possible by their remarkable ability to store oxygen in their blood and muscles. Their blood contains a high concentration of hemoglobin, while their muscles are rich in myoglobin, both of which bind oxygen efficiently. Additionally, whales can slow their heart rates during dives, which reduces oxygen consumption in non-essential organs. This adaptation allows them to survive and thrive in the deep ocean, where oxygen is scarce. In 2021, Czech swimmer Bruno Baumgartner completed a record-breaking open ocean swim of 520 kilometers along the Caribbean coast of Mexico. Over 40 days, Baumgartner swam for 10 to 12 hours daily, facing challenges such as jellyfish stings, dehydration, and strong ocean currents. He also encountered sharks during his swim, but avoided danger through a support team monitoring his journey. This achievement shattered the previous record of 504 kilometers and required immense mental and physical endurance, making it one of the most grueling aquatic accomplishments ever. Mirrors play a vital role in space telescopes, such as the Hubble Space Telescope, which uses large, precise mirrors to gather light from distant stars and galaxies. Mirrors are lighter than lenses, and they are also easier to shape into a smooth and perfect surface. A key feature of the Hubble Space Telescope is its primary mirror, which measures 2.4 meters in diameter and helps capture incredibly detailed images of outer space. Mirrors are also used in satellites, spacecraft, and lunar rovers to reflect light, enabling various scientific instruments to function effectively in space. Male humpback whales are famous for their intricate and haunting songs, which can last for hours and consist of repeating patterns of sounds. These songs are believed to play a role in attracting mates and communicating with other whales over vast distances. Underwater, sound travels more efficiently than in air, allowing these vocalizations to carry up to 10,000 miles in some cases. Each population of humpbacks has its own unique dialect, and their songs evolve over time as they adopt new variations. Scientists study whale songs to understand their behavior and social structures. These long-distance sound waves showcase the extraordinary abilities of whales to adapt to their oceanic environments. Some species of flowers, particularly tropical pitcher plants, have evolved to trap and digest insects and small animals to supplement their nutrient intake. These plants have specialized leaves that form deep, slippery pitchers filled with digestive enzymes. Insects are attracted by nectar or bright colors, fall into the pitcher, and are unable to escape due to the plant's waxy surface. Once trapped, the plant releases enzymes that break down the prey for nutrients. This is an adaptation to growing in nutrient-poor soils, where the plant can't rely solely on traditional root-based nutrient absorption. Located at the base of Mount Fuji, the Aokigahara Forest, also known as the Suicide Forest, is infamous for the high number of people who have taken their lives there. It's also rumored to be haunted, with many locals and visitors claiming to hear eerie whispers or see strange apparitions. The forest's dense trees block out most of the sunlight, creating a perpetual twilight-like atmosphere, which adds to the sense of isolation and fear. Some believe that the spirits of those who died there still haunt the forest, contributing to its unsettling reputation. A typical cumulus cloud, which looks like a fluffy white cotton ball, can contain about 1.1 million pounds of water. This weight comes from countless tiny water droplets or ice crystals, depending on temperature. Despite their massive weight, clouds float because the droplets are spread out over a large area, and the air below provides upward force. Larger storm clouds like cumulonimbus can weigh even more, with enough water to fill multiple Olympic-sized swimming pools. This ability to suspend such immense weight in the sky is due to the delicate balance of atmospheric forces. Though they usually appear as arcs, rainbows are actually full circles. Rainbows form when sunlight refracts, reflects, and disperses through water droplets in the atmosphere. Observers on the ground typically see only the top half because the ground blocks the rest. However, from high vantage points like airplanes or mountaintops, full circle rainbows can sometimes be seen. The position of the sun determines the rainbow's angle and intensity, with brighter rainbows occurring when sunlight is lower in the sky. Secondary rainbows, formed by double reflections inside droplets, are fainter and have reverse colors due to their more complex formation process. The color of the sky depends on the composition of the planet's atmosphere and how sunlight interacts with it. The color and pattern of day and night sky are decided by many factors. Mars has a reddish sky during the day because its atmosphere is filled with iron-rich dust. Titan, Saturn's largest moon, has a thick atmosphere of nitrogen and methane, giving it a golden-orange haze. Uranus, with its methane-rich atmosphere, has a cyan sky due to methane's absorption of red light. These differences highlight how diverse atmospheres shape the appearance of alien skies, providing scientists clues about planetary conditions and potential habitability. Research suggests cows respond positively to music, with calm genres like classical and even heavy metal improving milk production. Studies show that slow-tempo music reduces stress, allowing cows to relax and increase output. For example, tracks like Beethoven's symphonies or Metallica's softer melodies have proven effective. This phenomenon is rooted in the link between stress levels and cortisol, a hormone that hinders milk production. The bovine sensitivity to sound isn't surprising. Their hearing range surpasses humans, allowing them to detect nuanced tones. Dairy farmers have adopted this practice worldwide, turning barns into unlikely concert halls to ensure happy, productive cows. Icebergs produce unique sounds, often described as singing, as they crack, shift, and melt. This phenomenon occurs because icebergs release trapped air as they disintegrate, creating vibrations in water that can be recorded using hydrophones. Scientists have captured these sounds, revealing low-frequency hums and eerie tonal patterns. These ice songs provide insight into glacial movements and climate change, as the rate of iceberg calving has increased due to rising global temperatures. Studying these sounds has broader implications, helping researchers monitor ocean ecosystems. This acoustic data also aids in understanding how human activity, like ship noise, interacts with natural underwater soundscapes. The first known stapler was made in 18th century France for King Louis XV. Each staple bore the royal insignia, making them both functional and decorative. Modern staples evolved in the late 19th century when George McGill patented the first commercially successful stapling machine in 1879, revolutionizing paper fastening. McGill seems to have won the early rounds of staple invention history when he produced and patented the McGill single-stroke staple press in 1879, and the device was commercially successful. Early staples required manual loading, but advancements soon led to preloaded strips, which made the task much easier. In ancient China and Japan, time candles were used to measure time before mechanical clocks existed. These candles had evenly spaced markings, and as the wax melted to each mark, it indicated the passage of time. Some candles even contained embedded metal balls that dropped onto a plate when the wax melted, acting as an audible alarm. The idea of using burning objects to measure time wasn't limited to candles. Incense sticks served a similar purpose in Asian cultures. This method was particularly useful for rituals, prayers, or time tasks in daily life, showcasing the ingenuity of early civilizations in keeping track of hours. Coffee is the second most traded commodity in the world after crude oil, with an estimated 125 million people depending on its production for their livelihoods. Brazil is the largest producer, supplying around 40% of the world's coffee, followed by Vietnam and Colombia. Arabica and Robusta are the two main species of coffee, with Arabica being more delicate and flavorful, while Robusta is hardier and higher in caffeine. The industry is highly sensitive to climate change, as coffee plants require specific conditions to thrive, making sustainability efforts critical for its future. Coffee beans are actually a fruit. They are the seeds of the coffee cherry, a fruit that grows on coffee plants. The cherries turn bright red when ripe and are often hand-picked to ensure quality. Each cherry typically contains 2 beans, though some, known as pea berries, contain just 1. These seeds undergo processes like washing, drying, and roasting to become the coffee we drink. The pulp of the coffee cherry is sometimes used to make cascara tea, a lightly caffeinated drink with a fruity flavor. This highlights how every part of the coffee plant has potential uses beyond the beans. Zero, now fundamental in mathematics and daily life, was once a controversial concept. Ancient civilizations like the Babylonians used a placeholder for zero but didn't treat it as a number. The first true use of zero as a number occurred in India around the 5th century, when it was represented as a dot. The concept of zero was later adopted by Arabic mathematicians, who contributed to its spread to the Western world. Its introduction revolutionized mathematics, allowing for the development of algebra, calculus, and computer science, among other fields. William Shakespeare added more than 1,700 words to the English language. We still use these words today, such as eyeball, bedroom, lonely, and assassination. His creativity extended to combining existing words, transforming nouns into verbs, and inventing entirely new terms by adding prefixes or suffixes. These linguistic innovations appear throughout his works, including famous plays like Hamlet and Macbeth. His influence didn't stop with vocabulary. He also shaped phrases still common today, like break the ice and wild goose chase. The work of Shakespeare shows us the power of a single writer and how one man can influence a whole society. A whole novel has been written without using the letter E. French author Georges Perec's La Disparition is a lipogram, a novel written without the letter E, the most frequently used letter in both French and English. Remarkably, the omission is not just a technical exercise, it serves the story's theme of disappearance and absence. The English translation by Gilbert Adair also avoids the letter E, maintaining the integrity of the original text. Perec was part of the Oulipo group, a collective of writers and mathematicians who used constrained writing techniques to explore new forms of literature. This novel is considered a masterpiece of ingenuity, proving that creativity thrives even under strict limitations. The first stock market caused widespread bankruptcy. The Dutch East India Company, established in 1602, was the first corporation to issue stock, effectively creating the modern stock market. While it revolutionized global trade, it also led to some of the first speculative bubbles, where people invested wildly in hopes of quick riches. The tulip mania of the 1630s saw tulip bulb prices skyrocket, with single bulbs selling for the price of a house. When the bubble burst, many investors lost their entire fortunes. This early example of capitalism's speculative risks highlights how market-driven economies can lead to instability and personal financial ruin. The Swedish welfare state is not a socialist state. Many people mistakenly believe that Sweden's successful welfare system is an example of socialism in practice. However, Sweden operates under a mixed economy, blending capitalism with generous social programs. The Swedish government provides universal health care, free education, and high-quality social services, but it maintains a market-driven economy where private businesses thrive. The country's prosperity is largely due to its commitment to free market principles alongside a robust welfare system. Thus, Sweden's success challenges the idea that socialism requires a fully state-controlled economy, instead showing how a balanced approach can achieve social welfare goals within a capitalist framework. The largest diamond ever mined is over 3,100 carats. The Culinary diamond, found at the dawn of the 20th century in South Africa, remains the largest gem-quality diamond ever discovered, weighing an astonishing 3,106 carats. The diamond was initially found by a mine manager who thought it was just a massive piece of glass. After being cut into several smaller stones, the largest piece, called the Great Star of Africa, was set into the British sovereign's scepter. Despite its historical significance, the mining of the Cullinan diamond illustrates how valuable resources can drive economic interests and create controversy over ownership and exploitation, as the diamond was sourced from a colony during British imperial rule. Beadwork can also be used for communication. In Maasai culture, beadwork is not merely decorative, it's a language in itself. Each color and pattern represents specific meanings, with certain designs signifying a person's social status, age group, or even marital status. For example, red is a symbol of strength, while white signifies peace and purity. When a Maasai woman wears a beaded necklace, she communicates her life story and personal identity without uttering a word. These people have also used this form of language to save long and detailed stories of the past. In this way, the colorful beads act as a language and help the people connect with the past. Please subscribe to help me improve the video quality for you guys. It means a lot even if you just subscribe. The dancing plague is one of the most bizarre mass events. At the start of the 16th century, the people of Strasbourg, part of the Holy Roman Empire, inexplicably began dancing uncontrollably in the streets. In a few days, dozens were affected, reaching the maximum number of 400 people. The phenomenon lasted for months, with participants collapsing from exhaustion or dying of strokes and heart attacks. The cause of this bizarre mass event is still a mystery. Some say that it was caused by ergot poisoning, and some say that it was caused by mass hysteria. The Voynich script is an enigmatic but mysterious script discovered at the start of the 20th century by Wilfrid Voynich. This book is filled with bizarre illustrations of plants, astronomical diagrams, and naked figures. Linguists, cryptographers, and historians have tried to decode its contents for over a century without success. The origin and purpose of this bizarre script are still debated. Some people argue that it is a medieval hoax, and some say that it has secrets of alchemy written on it. This 240-page-long manuscript has been housed at Yale University. The Garawal Festival, where the men dress up in elaborate outfits, paint their faces, and perform dances to show off their beauty. This unusual practice is common in the Wodu tribe in Africa. They emphasize white teeth, bright eyes, and graceful movements to impress the women. But here's the twist. It's the women, often already married, who get to pick their favorites and start new relationships. This practice makes the Wodu people stand out as one of the most unique tribes in Africa. Famadihana is a festival where you dance with the dead. In Madagascar, the Malagasy people practice famadihana, where they dig up their ancestors, rewrap their bodies in fresh cloth, and dance with them during lively celebrations. It's a way of keeping their connection to their loved ones. They believe the dead continue to influence their lives, so this ritual is both respectful and joyful. Sure, it might sound strange, but for the Malagasy, it's about love and honoring family. The future of this culture is uncertain due to changing beliefs and a rapid shift towards modern and Western sciences. The bar-headed goose flies above Mount Everest for immigration. The bar-headed goose is known for its shocking ability to migrate across the Himalayas, flying at altitudes of up to 29,500 feet, higher than Mount Everest. At these heights, the air is so thin that humans would need oxygen tanks to survive. These geese have adapted with specialized hemoglobin that extracts oxygen more efficiently and a unique wing beat pattern to conserve energy. Their immigration route is between Central Asia and India, an approximate distance of 1,600 kilometers. Indigo bunting, a bird species which uses stars to navigate and guide them in their traveling. Many species, like the indigo bunting, use the stars to guide them during their nocturnal migrations. Even more astonishing, birds like pigeons and robins sense the Earth's magnetic field using special proteins in their eyes, essentially giving them a built-in GPS. Scientists are still unraveling how this magnetic sense works, but it's proof that birds are nature's true navigators. Scientists have slowed down the speed of light to study it. Light travels at an incredible speed of 300,000 kilometers per second in a vacuum. Scientists have discovered that it can be slowed dramatically when it passes through certain materials. They have managed to slow light to just 17 meters per second by passing it through an ultra-cold cloud of atoms called a Bose-Einstein condensate. That's slower than a car on a residential street. This phenomenon helps researchers study quantum mechanics and may one day revolutionize the data transfer and computing industry. On Venus planet, it rains acid and the atmospheric pressure is so high that it can crush humans. Venus might look like a beautiful golden orb from space, but step closer and it's an actual nightmare. The planet's clouds are made of sulfuric acid, and while the rain doesn't reach the surface, the acid evaporates due to intense heat. The idea of acid-filled storms is chilling, but it's a reality on that planet. The surface temperatures are hot enough to melt lead. Venus can easily be categorized as a doomsday planet. The Klenka Atlas is so heavy that it needs at least 6 people to carry it. This book is a true marvel of cartography and history. It's one of the largest books in the world and is 1.75 meters tall and 1.9 meters wide. It was gifted to King Charles II in 1660 by Dutch merchant Johannes Klenka. The atlas includes 41 maps from the 7th century, showing areas like Europe and South Asia, but also reflecting the limited knowledge of regions like North America and Antarctica at the time. The maps were originally made for wall hangings, but later they were bound into a book. There's paper that doesn't burn. Flame-resistant paper treated with special chemicals is designed to withstand extreme heat and can be found in things like firefighting manuals or electrical insulation. Instead of burning, it chars when exposed to fire. This paper helps prevent fires from spreading and protects lives in environments where heat and fire are constant threats. In the past, asbestos paper was used for its fireproof qualities, but due to severe health risks, it's no longer in use. Today, safer alternatives are made with non-toxic chemicals and are widely used in industries like aviation, construction, and electrical work. The Indus Valley script is still undeciphered. They developed one of the earliest writing systems in human history, but to this day, it remains undeciphered. Over 4,000 symbols have been found inscribed on seals, pottery, and tablets, but no Rosetta Stone equivalent exists to crack the code. Experts can't agree whether it was a full-fledged language or a system of symbols used for trade or religious purposes. Without understanding their script, much about their culture, governance, and beliefs remains unknown. It's like having a locked diary of one of history's most advanced societies, and no one has the key. The Indus Valley civilization had the world's first planned plumbing system over 4,500 years ago. Cities like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa had advanced drainage systems, complete with covered sewers and private bathrooms in many homes. Wastewater from homes drained into underground clay pipes, leading to central collection points, an idea that feels shockingly modern for a society that existed 4 millennia ago. Even today, some developing regions lack sanitation systems as advanced as theirs. This innovation wasn't just practical, but also emphasized hygiene and urban planning on a scale almost unparalleled in the ancient world. The Sailing Rocks in Death Valley, California, large rocks weighing hundreds of kilograms move on flat surfaces, leaving a trail behind. For decades, this baffled scientists, as there's no obvious force moving the stones. In 2014, researchers discovered the culprit, a rare combination of rain, freezing temperatures, and wind. Thin ice sheets form under the rocks, and when the ice melts, light winds push the rocks across the slippery surface. The process is so slow you can't see it happen, making it feel like the rocks have minds of their own. The touchscreens were invented in the 1960s, decades before the first smartphone was launched. It was invented by a British engineer, Sir Johnson. It was initially designed for air traffic control systems and wasn't even remotely intended for public use. This technology was largely ignored for years because no one envisioned a practical use for it outside of industrial applications. But, decades later, in the current era, touchscreens have become a part of our day-to-day life. They are available in many different styles and are considered the most intuitive and user-friendly technology. Wi-Fi was invented by studying black holes. Australian scientist John O'Sullivan and his team were studying theories related to Stephen Hawking's black hole radiation when they accidentally stumbled upon the technology that would later enable wireless internet. Their work in detecting faint radio waves led to the development of algorithms that allow for Wi-Fi signal transmission. Today, we consider the Wi-Fi router to be simple and mundane, but it works on some of the most complex understanding of the universe. We are heavily reliant on Wi-Fi for our life. It has been a crucial element in forming the current social and political standards. I'm almost out of facts. Comment down below what's your favorite fact so far. The continuous lighting spectacle of Lake Maracaibo, Venezuela. It's a natural phenomenon called Catatumbo lightning. This phenomenon produces lightning storms 260 nights a year, with up to 28 strikes per minute during peak activity. This relentless storm is caused by a combination of warm lake waters, cool mountain air, and humid conditions, creating the perfect storm for continuous lightning. This phenomenon has been happening for centuries and is so consistent that sailors once used it as a navigational beacon and to port their ships even from hundreds of kilometers away. It's like nature decided to install a permanent light show over this one spot on Earth. Dracula's castle in Romania is not of Vlad the Impaler. Vlad may never have even visited the castle, and he has no connections with the castle. The legend was purely a marketing strategy, turning this abandoned medieval fortress into one of the most famous tourist attractions in the world. In reality, the castle served as a defensive stronghold and later fell into disrepair, only to be restored for its modern vampire mystique. Despite its dark reputation, the eerie atmosphere and crumbling towers make it feel like the haunting rumors could be true. Bookworms live 2 years longer than the average person. Scientists have found significant associations between book reading and longevity. A 12-year study published in Social Science and Medicine found that book readers, specifically those who read for 30 minutes a day, have a 23% lower risk of dying compared to non-readers. Interestingly, this benefit doesn't extend to magazines or newspapers, making novels and literature the ultimate life-extending activity. It's believed that the mental engagement and stress relief provided by reading are key factors. Thus, picking a good book could literally add years to life. Ice hotels, like Sweden's Ice Hotel, offer the surreal experience of sleeping in rooms made entirely of ice and snow. Even the beds are sculpted from ice blocks, covered with reindeer hides and thermal sleeping bags to keep guests warm. These hotels melt away each spring, only to be rebuilt the next winter by skilled artists. Guests sleep at temperatures as low as -5 degrees Celsius, making it a chilly but unforgettable adventure. If you're brave enough to stay, you're rewarded with dazzling ice sculptures and a unique story to tell. Books were once chained to shelves as prisoners. This practice was common in medieval Europe. At that time, books were so valuable that libraries chained them to desks or shelves to prevent theft. These libraries are known as chained libraries. The Hereford Cathedral holds one of the largest collections of these books. They are still in their original chains. This practice was necessary because each book was painstakingly handwritten and worth a fortune, sometimes equivalent to the cost of an entire farm. The chains allowed readers to consult the books without walking off with them. Electric cars were invented before gas cars. The earliest electric vehicles were developed in the 1830s by inventors like Ányos Jedlik in Hungary and Robert Anderson in Scotland, long before gas-powered vehicles. They were popular in the late 1800s because they were quiet and didn't release smoke like early gas cars. However, when Henry Ford started making gas cars cheaply and oil became widely available, electric cars disappeared. The Model T of Henry Ford led to the decline of electric vehicles at the start of the 20th century. Now, as people try to reduce pollution, electric cars are making a comeback. The longest traffic jam lasted for 12 days. In 2010, a massive traffic jam in China on the Beijing-Tibet Expressway stretched for 100 kilometers and lasted 12 days. Cars could only move about 1 kilometer per day. The jam happened because of road construction, which blocked 50% of the capacity. Some also report that there was a surge in the number of trucks carrying coal to Beijing. Drivers were stranded for days, and a makeshift economy appeared in which vendors charged ridiculous prices for food and water. The congestion was alleviated when authorities took action and allowed more trucks to enter Beijing at night and asked the cargo companies to take alternative routes. The billion-dollar treasure has been found, and it exists. The San Jose is one of history's most legendary shipwrecks, often called a billion-dollar treasure. This Spanish galleon sank in the 18th century near Colombia after a British attack during the War of Spanish Succession. On board was an estimated $17 billion worth of gold, silver, and emeralds, making it one of the richest hauls ever lost at sea. While it wasn't a pirate ship, its immense wealth made it a dream target for pirates and rival nations alike. Rediscovered in 2015, the wreck remains untouched due to ongoing legal disputes between Spain, Colombia, and private firms over ownership. Once recovered, it could reveal unprecedented historical and financial riches. A National Football League player left the league mid-career to join the Army and fight terrorists. Pat Tillman, a football star with the Arizona Cardinals, shocked the sports world when he gave up his $3.5 million contract to enlist in the U.S. Army after the 9/11 attacks. Tillman served in Iraq and Afghanistan, but tragically he was killed by friendly fire in 2004. Initially, the Army reported that he was killed by enemy forces. Later, it was found out that he was killed in a friendly fire. The circumstances of his death and then the cover-up of the Army led to many controversies and public outcry. His decision to leave a lucrative sports career for military service is one of the most shocking and selfless stories in athletic history, sparking debates about heroism and sacrifice beyond the playing field. Time runs faster at the top of a skyscraper. According to Einstein's theory of general relativity, time moves faster in weaker gravitational fields. This means that if you're standing at the top of a skyscraper, time passes slightly faster for you than it does for someone on the ground. The difference is tiny, fractions of a second, but measurable with atomic clocks. This effect, called gravitational time dilation, has real-world implications, especially for GPS satellites, which must account for this time distortion to maintain accuracy. George Washington never lived in Washington, D.C. Though George Washington is the namesake of the capital city, he was the only U.S. president who never lived in Washington, D.C. The Capitol was still under construction during his presidency, and Washington primarily resided in Philadelphia and New York during his 2 terms. The White House wasn't completed until 1800, several years after Washington's presidency ended. During his presidency, the federal government moved between temporary capitals while the nation's capital was being built. Despite not residing there, Washington's influence on the city's design was profound, with the layout largely reflecting his vision for the nation's seat of government. Babies triple their birth weight in the first year. A baby's growth during the first year is unparalleled in its lifespan. Newborns typically double their birth weight by 4 to 6 months and triple it by their first birthday. This rapid growth demands a high intake of nutrients, with babies requiring about 100 calories per kilogram of body weight daily, nearly triple the requirement of an adult. The growth is fueled by breast milk or formula, which provides essential proteins, fats, and vitamins. This period also includes significant brain development, with the brain doubling in size by age 1. The rapid physical and neurological changes set the foundation for future development. In Tromsø, Norway, located above the Arctic Circle, there's a stunning natural phenomenon where the sun never sets for 69 days. This occurs during the summer months and is known as the midnight sun. Due to the tilt of the Earth, regions within the Arctic and Antarctic circles experience continuous daylight for part of the year. In Tromsø, this means the sun stays above the horizon for nearly 2.5 months, creating a unique environment where it's bright all the time. This striking occurrence draws visitors to experience what it's like to live without nightfall, showcasing the extreme beauty of nature's cycles. And that's it for today. Tell me your favorite fact in the comments below. If you're new, please subscribe.